Overthinking is not a thinking problem, it is a nervous system problem. And until you understand that distinction, you will keep trying to think your way out of a pattern that thinking created. Most people approach overthinking as if it is a discipline issue, as if the solution is simply to try harder, to focus better, to just stop. But that approach fails every single time because it is aimed at the wrong target entirely. Your nervous system has one primary job, and that job is to keep you alive. The way it carries out that job is by scanning for threat, constantly, automatically, without your permission. When the nervous system detects uncertainty, it activates, because uncertainty means unknown, and unknown means potential threat. And potential threat means the system needs more information before it can relax. Overthinking is the mind's attempt to resolve that uncertainty, to think through every possible outcome, to prepare for every possible scenario, to eliminate the unknown by mapping it completely. The problem is that uncertainty cannot be eliminated through thinking. Life does not become certain because you have thought about it long enough. The mind keeps searching for a resolution that thinking simply cannot provide. And so the loop continues, cycling endlessly without ever arriving at the relief it is chasing. For most chronic overthinkers, the overthinking is not actually about the thing they are thinking about. The email they are drafting for the 4th time, the conversation they are replaying from 3 days ago, the decision they cannot stop analysing. Those are not the source. Those are the content. The source is a nervous system that learned a long time ago that uncertainty is dangerous. That being caught off guard is catastrophic. That if you just think hard enough and long enough, you can prevent bad things from happening. Where did it learn that? From an environment where being unprepared had real consequences, where a parent's mood was unpredictable and reading the room was a survival skill, where mistakes were punished severely enough that the mind learned to anticipate every possible mistake before it could occur, where love or safety felt conditional enough that the mind was always calculating how to maintain it. The overthinking is not a bad habit. It is a protection strategy. It is the nervous system doing the job it was trained to do in an environment that no longer exists. So why does it not stop even when you know this? Because knowing does not change the nervous system. Information does not update the threat response. You can understand completely why you overthink and still find yourself at 2 a.m, running the same loop for the 4th hour in a row. The nervous system does not respond to insight. It responds to experience, specifically to repeated experiences of uncertainty that did not result in catastrophe. Every time you tolerate uncertainty without immediately trying to resolve it, you give your nervous system new data. You show it that the unknown did not destroy you, that you could not control the outcome and you survived anyway, that the loop was not necessary. That is how the pattern changes, not through understanding it, through outlasting it. This is the part that most advice skips over entirely, and it is the most important part of the entire conversation. The first practical thing that actually interrupts the loop is redirecting attention to the body before engaging the mind. When the loop starts, the instinct is to engage with the content, to try to think through the problem more clearly. But this feeds the loop. Instead, move attention to the body. Where is the activation sitting physically? The chest, the stomach, the throat. Stay with the sensation for 60 seconds without trying to resolve it. You are not solving the problem. You are interrupting the signal that is generating the loop. The sensation is not the enemy. It is information. And when you sit with it rather than immediately running from it through more thinking, you begin to teach the nervous system that the feeling itself is survivable. That is a fundamentally different message than the one overthinking sends. The second thing that creates real interruption is naming what the overthinking is doing rather than engaging with what it is about. Instead of diving deeper into the content of the loop, you name the function. My nervous system is trying to create certainty right now. My system is scanning for threat. I am in a protection loop. This creates distance between you and the pattern, and distance is where choice lives. When you're inside the loop, it feels like reality. It feels like the thinking is necessary, like stopping would be irresponsible, like one more pass through the scenario might finally produce the answer. Naming the function pulls you out of that immersive experience and places you in an observer position. From there, you are no longer the loop. You are the person watching the loop. And that shift, as subtle as it sounds, changes everything about what becomes possible next. The third approach is what could be called scheduled uncertainty tolerance. Pick one small thing each day where you deliberately do not resolve the uncertainty. Send the email without reading it 4 more times. Make the decision without researching it further. End the analysis and let the outcome be unknown. Start small. The nervous system builds tolerance to uncertainty the same way it builds tolerance to anything, through graduated exposure that does not result in the catastrophe it predicted. Each time you do this and survive, you deposit new evidence into the nervous system's database, not through words, not through affirmations, through actual lived experience of tolerating the unknown and remaining intact. Over time, the system begins to update. The alarm that fires at every uncertainty starts to quiet. Not because you convinced it to, but because you showed it repeatedly that the threat it was predicting never arrived. The goal is not to stop thinking. Thinking is not the enemy. The goal is to give your nervous system enough evidence that uncertainty is survivable, that it stops treating every unknown as an emergency. That is not a mindset shift. That is a nervous system update. And it happens one tolerated uncertainty at a time. The overthinker is not broken. The overthinker is someone whose nervous system learned to work overtime in an environment that demanded it. The work now is not punishment or discipline or forcing the mind to be quiet. The work is showing the system, slowly and consistently, that the world it is preparing for is not the world you are actually living in anymore. That is where the loop finally begins to lose its grip.